the water allocations that are already permitted about the lake. And so all of that comes together as the Lake Okeechobee regulation schedule. So we anticipate that we'll start that really in FY19, and our goal is to complete it in the 2022-2023 timeframe so that we can implement it upon completion of construction.
All right, Sherry, and then we'll go back to Paul.
I am concerned
Stand
about.
up. Speak loudly.
Okay. I'm a native Floridian. I was raised in Broward County. I've seen a tremendous amount of population. I've also seen the destruction and degradation of ecosystems throughout South Florida. A lot of that has to do with the water not getting to where it needs to get. So we know that the red tide is over on the west coast. We know that Florida Bay has the dead zone. We know that Biscayne Bay is a problem. We know here is a problem. It's this huge mammoth problem. In the meantime, people are still moving here. And underneath that, or within the context of our times, it's climate change. We have sea level rise, so we have water coming in from limestone down south. And if we don't get enough water south, we need volume and we need a lot of it. We need a certain amount. Otherwise, the fresh water aquifers and drinking wells are already having saltwater intrusion. We have disturbed the system so much that whatever natural mitigation that we had before, we don't have that now. And we will have storms. We had 3 superstorms last year. So what are we going to do about the water that we need to get to place not only for ecosystem health, but to mitigate climate change?
So that's the problem, right? I mean, everything we're talking about is exactly that problem. I really appreciate your succinct summary of the conundrum that we have here in South Florida. So the next big increment that we'll start to see really making a difference in moving water south has to do with the Central Everglades Planning Project that was authorized in the WRDA 2016. We need to get the components of that moving and getting shovels in the ground and starting to work on those components, because that's what really allows us to convey more of the water south. So unfortunately, this all takes time, and it's time we really don't have. And so we have to work together to make sure that we don't get distracted from the things that we know need to happen, and that's not just good enough for something to be authorized. It not only has to be authorized, but we have to apply the resources, both time, people, and money, in order to actually make the improvements on the ground.
Paul, and then up here, and then we'll go back to.
Hi, Colonel. Just to manage expectations, when you guys close the gate on the lake for 9 days, does that mean there will be no water coming out of the St. Lucie Canal?
Thank you for helping me manage expectations. So it doesn't, because you may have basin runoff. So I can't control where the rain's gonna fall, and if I could, we'd all, be in trouble because I wouldn't be able to figure it out. But the rainfall that falls in the basin will still run off the landscape and end up in the canal and may be discharged from the St. Lucie structure.
But who regulates that particular portion? So is it the district or the Corps together?
So the Corps and the district really work together on all the structures. The St. Lucie Lock is a core structure, so we manage that gate. We operate it when there's basin runoff in order to prevent flooding of the homes that are along the canal. So we don't just open it whenever we want. We manage it very carefully in order to allow as much capacity in that canal as it will take, but then move it out of the canal in order to anticipate future rainfall and prevent flooding of homes in those areas.
Thanks for that clarification. It's up here, and then we're going to go back there and there.
they begin to address that? And my other part of my question is, you said 2020 funding is gray right now. What can we do as stakeholders to maybe push that forward and become voices for people to hear about 2020 funding?
So a two-part question.
Sorry.
Yeah. So let me answer the second part first, because that's the easier part. Continue doing what you're doing. Prioritizing the Herbert Hoover Dike as a top priority and asking your elected officials to support federal funding for that project. Also helping our elected officials understand and enforce that getting funding late for Herbert Hoover Dike isn't helpful in maintaining the schedule. So those would be the two things. As far as when we started looking at the Herbert Hoover Dike, we did the dam safety modification study, which looked at how should we repair the dike. There's been, so we do routine inspections of all of our structures. We have about 715 dams in our portfolio. And part of how we manage that portfolio is routine dam inspections. So as part of our regular maintenance, operations, and inspections of our structures, we identified things that needed to be repaired in that structure. I don't know the dates off the top of my head. I bet John does, and afterwards we can certainly give you those. But it is an ongoing process, and so when we concluded, probably not decades, but I'll remind you that when we design our structures, they usually are designed for a 50-year lifespan. And so we had far exceeded the 50-year lifespan, so we've been working on how and when do we use the limited federal funding to maintain our structures, addressing the most critical ones first. And so the Herbert Hoover Dike was part of that larger portfolio evaluation.
I think we're here and then back to there and over there and back.
I have a question. Conspicuously missing. in this
Stand up, please, so we can see. Yeah.
Conspicuously missing in this conversation thus far, which, by the way, thank you for your service. Your projects are ongoing, and we know that that's great. We've been here, don't know all that. Our immediate problem is an immediate problem, and we haven't heard much discussion about corporate agriculture and how they have perfectly wet and perfectly dry areas where the rest of us are suffering extremes. We all know that 9 days of stopping is not going to give what's left of our estuary. It still has an opportunity to heal, an opportunity to really heal, even going in false discharges versus full-on discharges. I've been hearing a lot of conversation recently about shared diversity. As far as I can see, the last shared diversity that corporate agriculture has was in 1947. My suggestion is send it south, flood their fields, let them deal with their part of diversity like we've been dealing with for decades. Give us a chance to heal. Let them figure out the problem for a change.
Comment on that?
So I did comment a lot. The 1948 authorization that authorized the Central and Southern Flood Control System specifically requires us to provide flood control for those agricultural fields. And so I work for the public. I am in the public service, and the Congress and the administration tell me what to do, and I execute that. Right now, my authorization tells me to provide flood control for the Everglades agricultural area. So until that changes, that is my mandate by our nation. So if you want to have your voice heard, I can't adjust that. But certainly, we are at the service of our nation. And so a change in the authorization would be required in order to change how we perform that flood control mission.
Oh,
I realize that. and I know it's
hold on,
just-
that's enough. Thank you, thanks for your comment. We gotta go to one in the back and then over there and then back up. So, there was one in the back, hands up. No hands up, I'll go to the next one, back in the back, very back.
How are you?
Please speak loudly.
Sure.
Ask
I'm with Joe and I'm with Kenny. I grew up on the other side of this river. I rushed through my homework to get out there and to ski. I am a commercial fisherman. I've never been introduced to either of those two. I know them by name because we've been fighting this for over 24, 25 years. 8 years old, I was going to Martin County High School watching people scream. My question is, how low can we get it? We're gonna stop these discharges for 9 days. I'm out there every single day. I don't watch the news. I can tell you when the locks are open. I can tell you when they're closed. 9 days doesn't do anything for us. We've been skipped completely by 4 species this year. How low can you get it, and how much time can you buy yourselves to get your projects done? Thank you.
So, are you talking about the lake level?
I
How
am
low
talking
can we
about the
get
lake levels,
level?
yes.
How we operate the lake is a multi-purpose project, and water supply is one of those multi-purposes. We haven't had a drought, since 2011, and that was a pretty minor one. We've had a lot of high water events over the last several years. Both are really difficult. And so figuring out how to balance operations of the lake in order to make sure that people have drinking water, that people have irrigation water for our agricultural fields, and we have enough water for the environment that we know is starving for water. Everglades National Park, Biscayne Bay, Florida Bay, that water comes from Lake Okeechobee. And if the lake is too low, there's not enough water to last the rest of the year for those natural environments. And so that's what the Lake Okeechobee regulation schedule is all about. Our current schedule calls for us to operate the lake between 12.5 and 15.5. Below 12.5 begins to get difficult for all of those environments. So I'm not sure that's a great answer for you.
I'm with you.
But I hope that's at least a little bit.
Okay, maybe 2 more, so we'll go to here, to Doug, you had your hand up, and here, and
I have a polite question to ask you, and then probably I've been missed a little bit, but I'm also a person who's been very active in this organization for the last 10 years, and I've lived here since the late 60s. What concerns me, and I'm not trying to say it specifically towards you, because I've worked in government and I've seen how that happens, but what discourages me, sitting here for 10 years, and everything's project out for another 10, 20, it changes, it's a moving target, I appreciate that, but can I ask you kindly to please keep it as us in mind as best you can, because you're in the middle, to speed it up as fast as possible. Because when I was in private business, when we had projects to do, and I'm not trying to lecture or preach or anything, we got the time frames, and we had a deadline. So please, as best as you can, please keep that in mind, we'd really appreciate it, thank you.
So, project critical, you saw the one chart about the Herbert Hoover documents, and the critical part was at the very top, and that's the funding or appropriation. So, and it's also the appropriation application of that. There are certain logistical constraints in a construction project or a project, but there's also the funding constraints. And if Congress or state doesn't jointly authorize these things to move forward, then that is a problem year after year. So that's why these things sometimes go on decades, when actually the project could be fully funded and had all the resources and logistics right away. It takes that direct amount of time. So optimally, we gotta keep the pressure on to do that. There was 2 other questions here, there, and then we gotta wrap it up. So, yes, go, stand up.
There are 800 square miles of sugarcane fields surrounding Lake Okeechobee. Can you tell us how much sugarcane water runoff has been dumped into the flood system?
I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. Most of the water numbers, however, are posted, are publicly posted on both the South Florida Water Management District website as well as the Corps site, so I don't have those numbers offhand.
But they should be on the Corps website.
You'd have to do some math and some figuring because it would be amount of water that goes through certain structures, so you'd have to add it together based off of the structures.
And it is, the data is there in DB Hydro for the back pumping is a different thing that puts water back in the lake. I think what she's talking about is the runoff, the PA runoff that goes down towards the lake. So we'll work on that. Got another question here, and then there, go ahead.
Yeah.
Comment.
That algae in there clearly ties the environment to health. And I believe it's better for the lake, intermittent pole stumping, infrequent pole stumping throughout the year. So that we approach the wet season with a lower lake flow level, as many of you of us have already stated, would be the best, maybe the fastest solution or temporary solution so these projects can get solved. You mentioned irrigation is one of the biggest hurdles. Why should that be a priority over health? City of Stewart has to pump our water from an aquifer. So why should irrigation even be in there? When a lower lake level dumps throughout the dry season, intermittently, better for our environment. So could you please talk about maybe how much dumping was done during the dry season of the lake? And other hurdles to keeping that lake level lower? And is there any way that us in this room can speed that process up? So we're not deciding that in 2019, but so that in 2019, we're going in there maybe shooting for a lake level of 11 feet, so that we can handle a wet season without having continuous dumping, which clearly hurts our environment and is clearly tied to our health.
The two ways that we reduce the lake level the fastest is first through evapotranspiration, the natural evaporation of the lake during the dry season is one of the ways that reduces the lake level the fastest. The second way that the lake level is reduced the fastest is the amount of water supply that goes to the agricultural area and the amount of water that they use out of the lake during the dry season. Those are actually the two ways that we lower the lake the fastest. So I'm not sure if that helps answer your question.
Was it dumped intermittently at all during the dry season so that you approach the wet season with a lower lake level?
Yes, that is how we currently manage the lake.
But not to this worries, but to them.
I would like to know.
Jackie, real quick, just stand
Okay,
up.
I want to know who's more powerful, Army Corps or South Florida Water? That they let add to anything they want to do, and then you get to clean up the mess, and we get angry at you. You ought to be angry at them.
Brandon Tucker, governing board member, so let's be at peace here. You're trying to work together.
Sorry, I get emotional.
No, I understand. The comprehensive Everglades restoration plan is set up to be a 50-50 partnership, so.
And
Colonel,
we consider the South Florida Water Management District great partners, at least at our level. So the Jacksonville District and the South Florida Water Management District have a really hard job to do. We have really different authorities, we have different responsibilities, and we answer to different people.
Different priorities.
But at times, we have different priorities. But overall, we could not the Corps could not do this job without the Water Management District, and the state could not do this job without the federal government. And so we have to work together, and we have to work through differences, and we have to accommodate each other's positions and priorities as best we can in order to serve the public.
I'd just like to see more accommodation on the state level.
that's a good point. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. We have one more question and then we'll wrap up. Go ahead, stand up, we've been waiting long.
At this point, Everglades restoration is a 50-year project that's going to cost $40 billion. The EAA reservoir is going to cost $2 billion. Can you tell us at the end of everything, when all that money has been spent, if this community is still going to see toxic discharges?
So I mentioned earlier that even if we complete all of the comprehensive Everglades restoration program, if we complete all of the projects, under significant weather events, there will still be discharges. The toxicity is a separate issue or a connected issue that has a lot to do with state water quality. And so working both the comprehensive Everglades program and all of the projects, as well as the state continuing to work restoration strategies and the multiple water quality projects that they are working, coupled with things that we can do at the local level, things that individuals can do, and combining all of those choices is really the only answer that's gonna get us to a solution that doesn't look like what we have today.
I appreciate that point. I think that what's been said too is that, that it's gonna take a lot of different things working together to do that. One of the big components in the comprehensive Everglades plan is the operational component. And that doesn't get talked a lot about, but it's not just building all these facilities and these projects to store, treat, and move water. It's also the operational components of that. So there are structures and facilities currently today that can be operated differently. What was mentioned today is the Lake Okeechobee regulation schedule. And as that comes up for review or reauthorization of that schedule, we all have a chance to modify that operation of that component. So just remember that operational or the permitting or the authority to do this and that with the water that is currently established, if we don't want that to continue that way, those are operational changes that can occur and that are built in as part of the project. So it's not the projects themselves that are gonna be all solving our problems, it's gonna be us having to change those operational efforts. I'm gonna let Jackie do one more, and then we're gonna get right to the rest of the agenda, which is Martin County and state reports, and then we'll get to local water quality and wrap it up like 12:30. So Jackie.
This is not a question. I just couldn't help but make a statement. With all my time with the Constitution Revision Commission over the past year and a half, it is the Department of Environmental Protection that is in charge of water quality, and that department falls under our governor. Okay? And you guys, we went through that recession in 2008, which was horrific. And so we have been crawling out of that hole. But now that we're above it, we have the opportunity to put the pressure on a new governor, whoever that may be, to get the Department of Environmental Protection to do what it says in its title, protect.
Thanks, Colonel Reynolds, for coming, really. Call real quickly on Martin County, and then I'll follow up with Paul Gray, and also Brandon Tucker from the Water District with some agency updates. So here's Diane, give her your attention.
Greetings, Diane Hughes from Martin County Public Works. I'm not going to give you the lake distance. I think Lieutenant Colonel Jennifer Rhodes did that good job this morning. I will tell you that the Enterococcus levels, Roosevelt Bridge, Sanskrit Park, and Stuart Sandbar are good, and the Layton Parks did go back to core this week, so be aware of that. Project updates. Martin County staff has requested no releases during the periodic scientist call this past Tuesday. The Corps, as you heard, has honored that request, and we are more than pleased and very thankful to the Corps for doing this short closure of releases. Jensen Beach Impoundment, we are looking at designing improvements to the parking lot and a new pavilion. We're in the design phase, and that will be constructed in the fall of 2018. Backbox installation, we are looking for volunteers to assist us with backbox installations on our conservation areas. You can contact Jay Mann, and I have his cards, a couple of his cards here with me, so if anyone's interested in doing that, we appreciate it. We all know that tourism is a vital industry in Martin County, and we want to make sure that you have the most accurate information on conditions. We created the www.protectourparadise.com as a way to keep up with people informed. Here you can find the answers to many questions your customers might have, as well as links to our beach and water conditions. You can also go to Martin County's main page and put in water quality, and that will take you to our water quality page that has the same information there. I've handed out flyers in the back on the blue-green algae from the Department of Health that they've issued. please take that information and get familiar with it. We continue to monitor social media, news, and inform reconnaissance around the county on Mondays at public access points to understand the extent and impact of algae in our watershed. The county is also currently evaluating the feasibility of drone technology and the cost for that, to determine if this technology can assist us in monitoring the bloom throughout the summer. The rest of the stuff I have is all contained on this flyer. Thank you.
Tell them what reconnaissance means.
We're going out to all the public access points. I'll go out to S80 in the morning, we go to Lake Park, we'll check Riverwalk Marina, we go to some of the private marinas, Sunset Marina, Central Marine, outdoors only, Sandstrip Park, kind of just go around. And we're checking social media. When we see where there's green algae, we'll go and fact check, and we'll go to that area. And
How many days does it take to get a report back about the algae and the toxic amount? When you guys go out and document it, are you taking samples?
The county does not take samples, we'll report it to DEP, and then DEP then
How
sends
long
out
does it
their
take for
staff.
DEP to get out, you know?
Sometimes they're the same day, sometimes they're the next day, typically.
And how long typically does it take for DEP to get back to us whether that water was toxic on, say, a Monday? How many days before we find out if it was toxic or not?
2 to 4 days.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Diane. We also have some handouts about Church Crest water crisis that we can hand out, and there's some information on the back. But as far as reporting algae, not only the county should be observing and doing that, all of us should be out doing observations, getting on the website and reporting it to DEP. If they don't hear that algae bloom, this algae is right now at the St. Lucie Lockett Dam, and I give them the coordinates and find out where that is and the extent, they won't come and sample. So we need to give them every observation we can and have them come and record that sample. I do want to get an update from Paul Andre on the lake, and this real quick, as we're running short on time, Paul, and then also bring it else. Yeah, thanks.
Is it in the river keep?
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
Paul Ray Montalban. As you guys have heard, the lake's about 14 feet. The good news is this time of year, the lake usually stays pretty flat until about August. That's part of the reason, of course, feels comfortable, well, a little bit comfortable being able to take a short break. But last year, the lake was only 12.3 at this time, and we ended up at 17. So you can understand why, we're almost 2 feet deeper than that right now, and it makes them nervous. And part of the reason we had it down so early is because it got so deep last year, we weren't able to get it down low enough, and it just left us in this kind of risky zone. And so people think, well, when we fix the dike, we're just gonna make the lake deep again. And if we did, it would look kind of like this. It would be harmfully deep at the end of the year. We would have estuary releases earlier in the year because the lake's already at a point where it's kind of a threat. And so when we fix the dike, it's a safety project. We try to make the dike safer. And probably my guess is we're gonna leave the lake in more or less the same zone. We have to be able to draw it down every year to get ready for hurricane season. And if we have lake get real deep every year, we'll be able to draw it down. So this is stuff to look forward to. I know that there's a lot of pressure to revisit the schedule. It'll be a long, slow process, but,
How are the birds?
we had a pretty good nesting season, but it ended very abruptly in May when the water went up. But right now, they're all out across the prairies because all the wetlands are flooded, so they're doing fine out there.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul, for forming. As he's coming down, the next water resource meeting is on July 5th, next Thursday, and then, or a week from Thursday, and then the July 12th is the governing board, which they hold their monthly meeting, so I encourage you to go to Palm Beach and participate.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to be here with everyone. I just got an email that we released on our website, a new link on our website where we can follow what we're calling this emergency high water situation that we're dealing with. So I encourage you to go to our website and keep up with everything that we're doing. To be short and quick here, as you know, in May, when we had this amazing amount of rainfall that hit not just in Martin County, which got hit the hardest of any area, the entire district was hit very, very hard in that time. And so Lake Okeechobee rose 700,000 acre feet in that period of time for that amount of rainfall. And that's why we are working in partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers. I believe today the TSP was released for Lake Okeechobee watershed. Is that right, Lieutenant Colonel?
That's scheduled for next week.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
called a tentatively selected plan, TSP.
You like the sign language.
Okay, so we're close to having a TSP, a tentatively selected plan on what's called the Lake Okeechobee Watershed Project. That project's on the north end of Lake Okeechobee, and that will treat about 500,000 acre-feet of water. So when you give comparison to the 700,000 acre-feet that the lake rose when we had this big rain event in May, and the benefit of that one project, that'll be a huge benefit. In Martin County, the second part of Lakeside Ranch, I was out there about 2 weeks ago, will be coming online here in a couple of months, which will provide some well-needed treatment for our basin. Calkins Water Farm is running as hard as it can. That's one of those outside-of-the-box kind of projects that the state did, DEP, private landowner, that kind of project that we're working with other landowners to do as well. That is providing treatment. I was out there a week ago with my phone, standing at the intake, watching it flow, watching it work, making sure it was operating. So that is working. You heard the Lieutenant Colonel talk about C-44. The HTA part will be coming online later this year, and then the reservoir behind it, providing additional treatment for the system. The thing I'm going to add the layer to that the Lieutenant Colonel will talk about, because it's not in the federal plan, but it's something that our governing board is talking a lot about. And when I hear that I can reduce discharges by 67%, I can do it in less than 5 years. And I can do it with state dollars, doing it on our own as a local solution, as a state solution, for $300 million and get a 67% reduction. You know it is deep well injection. We call it emergency estuary protection wells. And that is something that we are continuing to explore. I'm doing my own homework outside of what I'm provided by my district staff. Every time that I'm given something, I go do my own homework. And I'm doing that, we're studying that, and we need to continue that process to see if that is a viable option, because if it is a viable option, it's something that we need to really look at, because we're in an emergency situation here. We all know that. These projects with the state and federal government are going to take a lot of time to get completed. And if we're going to have relief and have it now, and I heard a lot of talk about that since I came in the room in the last 30 minutes, about how long it's going to take, the issues that we're dealing with. If we want solutions now for our estuary, we're not wasting water, we're sending it to tide just in a different way. And if all of that beds out, I think it would be an absolute tragedy that we did not pursue that solution that could provide immediate relief to the estuaries. So I'll be continuing to come to you, brief you on that. You can listen to our meetings, our RAC meetings. I'm currently now the facilitator of our RAC committee. So you can come and listen to those meetings. I encourage you, like Mr. Perry, to come and speak during our public comment section of those meetings. And we're continuing to work hard at the district, to work hard with the Lieutenant Colonel and the Army Corps to provide those solutions and to get this right. So thank you all for having me today. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move right to this so we get their water keys. My little